Hello friends, welcome back to the session. So in this session, we will discuss the most important part of programmer's life, that is a part of debugging. So we will discuss two things over here. What is debugging and what is the use of debugging? See, before I go with the debugging concept, I want to take you some real-time scenario, like the area which you are staying, the residential area which you are staying, and suddenly there is a power break, maybe in your residence. Now, what you're thinking? Maybe it will get restored in some few minutes, and if beyond that time limit, if the power has not been restored, then you start looking for your surrounding. You'll go to your neighbor, you will ask them, do you have the power? If they say yes, then you will be having the questions in mind, like maybe the issue with our end. Now you start looking for the main switch. Are we getting any the power in the main switch? Of course, not by you. You're going to call the electrician, the respective person, and he's going to start checking. He will check at the main switch outside your door or maybe within. Then he will start looking for the wiring system. And there might be a scenario like, of course, we do have the respective boards, the electrical board we can say. Maybe suppose if you're not paying the payment, the monthly payment which we used to be pay to the electrical board. If you are not paying on the time, maybe some due to reason, there might be there might be a chances of power cut. But maybe in this scenario, that might be the reason. That not might be the reason. It is something else. There is a issue with some wiring or there is some power breakup. So then electrician start looking for the issue with the help, like you are going to support him and with the help of you, he is going to start looking for the issue. Now suddenly you get to know that, oh, there is some wire break or maybe some issue with this main switch, we need to replace that or something. He need to analyze it and he need to fix it. For example, if you take another scenario, like of course the tap, we do have the water, and suddenly the water is stopped into the tap. Then what you are going to do? You're going to look for the issue, like where exactly the issue with. Do we have the water, enough water in our tank? If not, if of course the water is like enough level in the tank, then what you're going to do? You're going to check, is there any leakage or something? What I mean to say that the wiring or the pipeline which we do have, if you're not like it is, if it is not normal, then there might be issue and you need to analyze it and you need to fix it. Same thing will apply to your programming level also. In real time, whatever the program we are going to design, sometime like your program is synthetically okay, your program is also activated. Now you are not getting the desired result. The results which you are expecting, you are not getting the proper results. Then we need to start analyzing the program. Like whenever we execute any program or the application, five things are going to take place in the background. One, loading, then it's going to compile, then it's going to be interpret, then we are going to execute. After that, he's going to perform the read or write operation on the database. The compile and the interpreting. So this is going to be take place in the background during the executions. That will be done by the compiler. Now, when we say the compiler, so it's going to execute all the lines of code in the background. It's going to show you the result. But this time, I don't want to execute all the lines in the background. Instead, I want to analyze myself where exactly it's going wrong. Of course, debugging comes to picture only when if your program is activated. For inactive program, it is not possible to debug. So how to do the debugging? SAP has provided the tool called ABAP Debugger. Now within this debugger, we do have the two different tool. One is the old one. Now SAP has come up with the updated one. The old one we can call as a classical debugger. Still that debugger is exist in the SAP system. And the new one which we can call as a ABAP new debugger. So by default, whenever we run the program, it will open the new debugger only. But if you want, you can switch to the classical also. Now, how to do the debugging? So SAP has provided the two things during the debugging. So one with the breakpoint, another with the watchpoint. So before that, the debugging is nothing but what? With the help of debugging, you can check the internal execution of your program by your own. It means control will transfer to the ABAP debugger and you can check with the help of that control, you can check how your program is getting executed in the background. So here I can say it is a concept. with which developer, it is not for the end user, developer can check internal execution of your program with the help of tool provided by SAP called ABAP Debugger. Now within the debugger, we do have two, one with the old one. Now within the debugger, we do have two, one with the old one. That old one we can call as a classical debugger. Still that debugger exists in the system. And the new one we can say ABAP new debugger. And by default, whenever we start the debugging, it will open the new debugger. Now how to do the debugging? So there are two types of debugging, I can say, types of debugging. One with the breakpoint, another with the watchpoint. Now, what is the meaning of breakpoint? Again, within the breakpoint, we do have two types. One with the session breakpoint, another with the external breakpoint. We will discuss in detail. So again, within the breakpoint, we do have two. One with session breakpoint, and the second one is external breakpoint. Session and the external. Now, what is the meaning of breakpoint? Suppose you have written the 100 lines of code. Let's assume you do have 100 lines of code. Whenever we start execute the program, all like compiler, what he will do, he will execute all the statement in background. He will show you the result. Now, in this situation, what you're expecting, what you're trying to do. So I want to check where exactly going wrong because I'm not getting the correct results. In that situation, you need to check the statement one by one. When you return the code from line number 1 to line number 100, now you are going to interrupt the compiler, like please don't execute all the statement in background. You're going to interrupt. You are going to say that at this point, when you reach this point, please stop it over there and let the analyze myself. With the help of debugger, we are going to analyze ourselves. Now, when you're going to ask the compiler, please stop at this specific line, that is a part of your breakpoint. Like if you go with the public transportation, you do have the bus stops. What does it mean? You need to stop here because the passenger are waiting. You need to onboard them. Same way, the breakpoint is nothing but you are going to interrupt the compiler at specific program. Sorry, at specific line. You are going to interrupt the compiler at specific line. That we can call as a breakpoint. So in one program, maximum 30 breakpoint can be set. In a program, maximum 30 breakpoints can be set. Actually, this rules is applied to the classical one. As I told you that we do have the two types of debugger. One with the classical debugger, another with the new debugger. If you go with the new debugger, you can set the breakpoint beyond the 30 also. But this rules is applicable to the classical. Still sometimes interviewer might ask you how many breakpoint can be set within a program. I'm talking about in one program. That is a part of maximum 30, but you can set beyond the 30 also in the new debugger. So that is a part of either maybe session breakpoint or the external. Now, if I look at the difference between the session breakpoint and the external breakpoint. So, whenever we log in into the SAP screen, that is a part of session, we can say. The screen which is open, the activity which you are doing, that is a part of session in the background, we can say. So in parallel, you can open the seventh session. Now, for example, if I make place my cursor on the, like in the taskbar, if I place the cursor on the SAP icon, can you see the two screen? This is a part of logon screen and this is for the the screen which is logged in. Maybe it's a development quality or maybe the production server. So likewise, 7 session can be open in parallel. Actually, this is not a restriction one, but you can open beyond that also, but that is going to be set by the basis consultant. So that is a restriction by the basis. So you can, like, how many sessions should be open in parallel, that going to be decided by the basis. But by default, SAP, as per the SAP, 7 session will be open in parallel. So whenever we start doing the debugging, if you want to debug any program, so you need to set the breakpoint. So breakpoint, the reason behind setting the breakpoint means you are going to interrupt the compiler at specific line. So once that compiler reached to that point, it will transfer all the control to the application or the toolbar called ABAP Debugger. It will transfer the control to the tool called ABAP Debugger. So once we switch to the, means it will open a new screen for you called the ABAP Debugger, and then the control is in your hand. You can check the execution of the statement line by line. Now, of course, it's going to do by the compiler only, but the control is in your hand. Based on your command, he will start working. So whenever we are working with the debugging, so 4 important keywords. One with F5, F6, F7, F8. As I told you that whenever we click on execute, so F8 is a part of execute, or we can say process. Process. It means whatever the source code you have written, if I click on F8, it will execute all the lines of code in the background. It will show you the result. But this time what you are like planning, I don't want compiler to be execute all the statement in the background. Instead, I want to check myself how the statement are getting executed in the background. So what compiler will do, he will transfer all the control to the a specific tool called the ABAP debugger. Now once you received once it has navigated you to the ABAP debugger, then the control is in your hand. So with the help of these 4 keywords, you can check the execution of your statement. Now, when I say F8, it will execute all the lines. Like suppose you have written 100 lines of code, all the 100 lines of code will get executed in the background. But I want to check myself one by one. In that situation, you can make use of FIU and the F6. So both FIU and F6, both will be used to execute the line by line, or we can say statement by statement. So as I told you that we do have 100 lines of code. So you want to check one by one. That's a part of line by line or statement by statement. That is the job of FIU and the F6. Now you can ask me, if both FIU and the F6 are going to do the same job, then what is the use of two keywords? There might be some difference between these two. Of course, yes. There is some difference between the FIU and the F6. Do you know, like in real time, whenever we are going to write the program, of course, suppose maybe 100 lines of code, maybe 200, maybe more than that. So along with the development, we also need to take care about the performance. Now to improve the performance of a programming, it is not really depends upon any 1 or 2 points. There are many points. Like for example, I'm a human being. If I want to be stay fit, then what are the healthy routine I need to follow? Need to get up early, then go to the bed early, then we do have the proper dieting, or proper workout. There are many things. How the enough water in a day, like what either within the workout we do have the different things, maybe running, jogging, swimming, maybe the yoga, we can say there are many. Means my, like, if I want to be stay fit, it is not really depends upon 1 or 2 activity. There are many things we need to follow, then we can say the a healthy person. Same way, like if you want to improve the performance of your programming, there are not it's not really depends upon 1 or 2 topic. There are many points which you need to follow. So one of the point is whatever the source code we are writing, as I told you that the number of lines, I can say it may be 100, 500, 1000. So in real time, we never write the entire source code in one part. Suppose there is a 100 kg bag and I want to carry that 100 kg bag from one place to another place. Is it possible to pick it by one person? Of course, no. Then what we need to do? We need to take a help from the 3 to 4%, at least 4% we require, because it is not possible to pick up that all 100 kg bag by one person. At least we need 2 or 3 or maximum 4%. But still it is not feasible to carry the complete one bag by the 4%. It is not so handy. There is not a proper like grip to carry. In that situation, what we decided, better to carry that 100 kg bag at one go. What I can do, I will divide that 100 kg bag into maybe two or four pieces. Of course, I do have 4%. I will divide into four. So I will make a 25, 25, 25, 25 kg bag. Then how it easy for to carry? Very much compared to earlier. Now easily one person can easily pick up the 25 kg bag. It's very handy. The grip is also very good. Then he can easily take and carry and it can drop to the destination. This makes a difference. So whenever we are writing the source code, we should not write the entire source code in one part. So we always divide the source code into number of parts. Block wise we are going to write. And that block concept we can call as a modularization technique in SAP. That is a meaning of structural language. You know, like when the programming has evolved, like so when the computers has invented, the electronic device has been invented, then there is a concept, the programming has invented to command the machines. So initially the machine language has invented, it is more likely a binary language, 0 and 0, 1. So then it has been evolved, like next generation we can say the assembly, then comes with the procedural language or the structural. Now, what is the meaning of procedural? We are going to write the source code into blocks. So in the SAP also, SAP ABAP is also part of structural language. We are going to write the source code in the format of blocks. It is not a compulsory. It is not a compulsory, but we must write the source code in blocks. So instead of writing the 100 lines of code in one block, we are going to make it as a 25 day. Like I take as an example of bag. Not only exactly the meaning of 4 bags. If you want, you can make it 10 bags also. You can make a 5 also. You can make it 2 also. It's up to you. Depends upon the programmers. So the reason behind to divide the code into the number of parts, one is like whenever we define any memories, the data objects which I called about variable, work area, internal table. Now these memory, you want to keep it as a local or if you want to make it as a global. Now what is the meaning of local and the global? Local means the memory is available only certain area. Suppose you do have the big program and if you don't want that data object which you have declared in the format of variable over or work area, I don't want that variable memory to be available globally. Means I don't want that variable should be accessed everywhere within the program. I want to restrict it to a certain area only. That is a part of local. If you want to restrict the memory of that data object to the certain area, that is a part of local memory. And if you want to if you don't want to keep any restriction, I want that variable to be accessed within the program, anywhere within the program, then it's a part of global. So if you want to make that variable local and the global, then that we are going to do it by using the structural, like piece of code, the blockage which we are writing. So in the format of modularization technique, we are going to develop in SAP. In the modularization technique, we do have the subroutine function module. So that you can find in my another sessions. So whenever we are going to write the source code, instead of writing in one part, we are going to make it a blocks. So that block is nothing but the modularization technique, and that concept is nothing but a structural language. Now, if you are declaring any variable within that blocks, that will become a local. And if you are declaring any variable irrespective of that blocks, means outside that blocks, that will become the global, right? So there is many advantages to divide the main program into number of blocks. So one is like the main purpose of dividing the main program into number of blocks is reusability. Suppose you have written 10 lines of code. You have written 10 lines of code. Now same 10 lines of code, I want to write one more time within the same program. The requirement could be anything. I want to write same 10 lines of code again one more time within the same program. It means you are going to write the same 10 lines of code again. Unnecessary. Why you want to increase the memory? Why you're taking why you are reserving the more memory? It may impact on the performance. Why don't you write that same 10 lines of code in such a way that with the minimal code it should get reused? With the minimal code, it should get reused. You should not write the same 10 lines of code again and again. Suppose you have written a select statement, you are fetching the data from one of the table. Now, suppose there might be a requirement, same 10 lines of code, the select statement, I want to rewrite again due to some reason. Why you are writing same time again and again? Same memory is going to be consumed. So you should write the select statement in such a way that with minimal code, maybe in 1 or 2 lines, the entire code should be re-executed again. So that we can achieve by using the blocks, the modularization concept which we discussed. In that contains subroutine, function model, include, field symbol, and the macro. So these are the concepts provided by the SAP. So the program will be divided in these blocks. So the purpose is reusability. Now, when I come to like the reason behind to discuss with this concept is the difference to make a difference between the F5 and the F6. Now, as I told you that both F5 and the F6 will be executed line by line or statement by statement. But if you want to the exact difference between the F6 and the F5, as I told you that we are going to divide the program into block, right? In the block. So that block always contains the calling part and the definition part. So first we are going to define it and we are going to call it. So definition can be one line, but behind that you do have the calling. Somewhere you have written the calling part. Now what I wanted to, whenever my cursor came across with that defining part, of course it's going to call the calling part. So suppose I want to jump inside. Sometimes what will happen, you can find as a single line, but behind that you do have some set of logic might be written in the background. The block I can say, the block. So if you want to jump into that block, then the F5 will make you the help. So F6, what will happen whenever you come across with that block of code? As I told you, there is a definition part and the calling part. So whenever you come across the definition, however, system will call the calling part. But if you want to jump inside that calling part, if you want to jump inside that calling part, then it's a part of F5. So F5 will take you in. There is some certain area. Again, in that you have written some block of code. Now, suppose if you want to enter into that block, then it's a part of F5. So F5 will take you in somewhere, some in. But F6, it will not take you, but it doesn't mean that it will not get executed. Of course, it will get executed in the background, but it will not take you in. So the difference between the F5 and the F6, in certain area, there is a code which has been written in the background in the format of blocks. Now, if you want to enter into that block, then the F5 will help you. Suppose if I don't want to enter, let that execute in the background. It's matter about me the data, then F6. Otherwise, F5 and F6 will be the same. I will show you what exactly the difference between the F5 and F6. So at this point, you can just make it clear. F5, suppose there is some block of code might be written in the background. So whenever we come across with the definition part and there is a calling part in the background. Suppose if I want to enter into that calling part, I want to go in, then F5 will take you. But F6, it will not take you in, but that code which has written in the background, that will get executed. That is no any difference. However, you'll get the same result, but it will make a difference like either you want to go in or not. That is only the difference. So F5 will take you in, so F6 won't take you. Now, for example, if you enter into any house, so once I enter, I get the hall, I can say. Thereafter, followed by you do have one more door that is something related to the bedroom or maybe some other living room or something. Now, of course, I came to the hall area. Now, again, I find one more door, but within that door, behind that, there is a one more room. Now, do you want to open that door and you want to go in? That is something for F5. So F5 will take you some inside within the block of code which we have written, that will take you in. So F6 will not take you in, but with the behind that, whatever the code has been written, that will get executed. However, in both cases, it will get executed, but only the matter of should I go in or not. So if you have decided I want to go in, then F5 will take you. Otherwise, it will get executed in the background. So both will be executed line by line or statement by statement. So as I told that, wherever there is a use of F5, suppose you have entered somewhere and you have decided no, I don't want to execute all the line, I just want to come back. I want to come back. Then it's a part of F7. So F7, it will take, like suppose you have decided I want to return from here. I don't want to go further, just I want to return from here. Then F7 will help you out. Otherwise, you decided, no, that's fine. I want to totally let the code execute it in the background. So F8, again you can click on F8, it will execute all the lines of code in the background. So breakpoint, it will interrupt the program execution at specific point. Once it is reached to that point, it will transfer all the control to the tool called ABAP Debugger. Now within the ABAP Debugger, we do have two, one with the classical and the new. So in one program, how many breakpoint we can set? Maximum 30, but that is something related to the classical only. But if you're working with a new debugger, there is no any restrictions. I had tried it, even you can apply more than 30 also. But if they ask you like 30, but that is only restricted to the classical. Now within the breakpoint, like there are two, one with the session and the external. Session means the screen which is open, that is your screen, and that is for specific to your username. Like once I set the breakpoint, that will work for only your user and only for this session only. Means the screen which is open. The screen which is open, it will applicable to only that session. The current session we can say. So like as I told that in parallel you can open the 7 session as per SAP, but it is not a mandatory. It can be more than that also. That is going to be set by the basis consultant. So there is one more requirement. So whenever we start the debugger, by default it will take you to the new debugger. But in certain situation, system by default navigate you to the classical debugger. In certain situation, by default system will navigate you to the classical debugger. When already the 7 sessions are open in parallel, and if you want to switch to the debugger, by default it will take you to the classical debugger. Always keep in mind. By default system will open the new debugger, but already 7 sessions are open in parallel. For example, now how many sessions are open? Except that logon pad, only one session is open. Likewise, you can open the 7 sessions. Suppose if you want to another session, right? Okay, so here you can see. This is my another session. Now, if I show you over here, how many sessions are open? Except that logon pad, there are 2 sessions. Likewise, 7 sessions can be open in parallel. And all 7 sessions are open. And if you're trying to open the debugger screen, by default, it will navigate you to the classical debugger. That is a part of old. Now, what if I want to switch to the new debugger? Then you need to close one of the session, right? So this is the things, but it is not restricted like you will be having only 7 sessions. It is totally depends upon the client. You might have the 10 session also restriction. I'm talking about maximum reach. It can be more than 7 also. That is going to be set by the basis consultant. Now session means current, the screen which is open. Sometimes what will happen, like you can across the data, you can access the data across the system. Now this is SAP screen, SAP system, and in parallel you do have some non-SAP system. The third party system I can say. It can be something like a DW, data warehousing, or maybe some Informatica. There is a ETL tool concept. This is a separate system. Now, sometimes what will happen, it doesn't mean that the data which we do have in SAP that can be accessed within the system. That is also fine. But sometimes there is a scenario to access across the system also. Means it can, the data can be from SAP will be sent out from the SAP system, or it can be received from other system to SAP system. That is a part of across the system. Now, within the program which you have designed and within the session, if you want to debug, then session breakpoint will help you out. But I'm talking about, so the program has been designed in SAP, but I want to access it from external devices. As I told that ETL something. And from there, while accessing, I want to debug. When I'm calling the program from external system through the concept called RFC, when you want to access the SAP system externally, that we are going to do by using the RFC, remote function call. This is a part of one of the function model. You know, like modularization, just I have just revised. In that we do have subroutine and the function model. Now within the function model, we do have the different types. One of the type is RFC. RFC, remote function call. It will be help you to access the data across the system, is from SAP to outside or from outside to SAP. Remote function. It will be helpful you to access across the system. Something like Bluetooth. You know, what is the use of Bluetooth? To connect the two devices and exchange the data between the two devices. Now within, if you want to do, you know, you don't need any external systems, something like Bluetooth. Within you can easily copy paste. But if I do have two devices and I want to exchange the data between the two devices, with the Bluetooth we are going to connect and we are going to exchange. In the same way in SAP, like if you want to send out the data from SAP system to other system, or if you want to receive the data from other system into SAP system, and you have developed some logic during that access, if you want to do any manipulation, that you are going to design by using the RFC. Now, when you are going to call the SAP system, you are within external with the help of external system like ETL tool. I'm accessing the SAP system data, and you're going to do some manipulation. Then I want to debug in that case. Then how to do? Normal session breakpoint will not work. That is only to the current user. Now from external system, I'm accessing the SAP system through RFC, and during access, I want to debug. Then we are going to use the external system, sorry, external breakpoint. So within the breakpoint, you do have two type. One with the session, that will be only for the current screen, current user. External means if you are accessing the SAP through third party system, non-SAP system through third party. And during the access, if you want to do any debug, like you have developed some custom logic and you want to do the debugging, then you need to interrupt that program, interrupt that access by using the external breakpoint. So external breakpoint will be useful during the accessing of your SAP system through third party tool. Now how to do, like there is a different way to set the session breakpoint and set the external breakpoint. So first we will see the session breakpoint, then followed by I will say, like I'll let you know how to set the breakpoint as well, external breakpoint. Then followed by we will come to the watch point. So what is the meaning of watch point? Let's go back to the SAP screen. I will show you some simple program first, and then followed by I will take the real-time example. Like if I go to the SA38, of course, the programming will be designed by using the application called ABAP editor. Now I will open a simple program first. Like if you refer to my previous sessions, they we discussed about the work area and the internal table, structure table, many topics we have discussed. I will show you first with the work area, then followed by internal table with the occur zero, then followed by alternative to the occur zero is creating the structure, creating the table type, and based on the table type, we're supposed to create the internal table. So this is a program which we have created during the work area. If I click on display, so this is somewhat my source code which I have designed. Now if I click on execute, this is my result. But you are thinking that maybe the result which I'm getting, that is not like not desired result. Maybe there's something wrong. I'm not getting the proper output. Then what you need to do? You need to analyze your source code. I'm not saying that you do have the errors in your program. If your program is not active, then it's not possible to debug. To activate the debugger, to activate the breakpoint, so prerequisite is what? Your program must be active. It should be active, right? Now, how to set the breakpoint? See, in every program, there are two parts. One with the declaration and another with the executable or calling statement. Declarative statement cannot be debugged. Always keep in mind. The declarative statement cannot be debugged. Only you can debug is executable, calling. Now, in that, which one is a declarative statement and which one is a calling? Especially the tables, the keyword, this is a itself I have written it as a declaration. It's a declarative statement. It cannot be debugged. This is also a declarative statement. The keyword which is starting with the data, those all are declarative statement. That cannot be debugged. The especially the select statement, the loop, the write, these are the calling or the executable statement. Only these statement can be executed or it can only be debugged, right? So here how many lines of code you have written? There are total 27 lines of code you have written. There are total 27 lines of code you have written. Now if I say execute, all the 27 lines of code will be get executed in the background and it will show you the result to you directly. But if you are not okay, now you're saying that I don't want all the 27 lines of code should get executed in the background. No, somewhere once the cursor, the cursor during the graphical representation also I have shown you, like the arrow, what that will do, it will show you like where exactly your point, where did you have reached. No, so maximum 30 breakpoint we can set. So when your cursor, like whenever it's going to execute in the background, suppose I want the like compiler to be interrupt, like I don't want him to be executed in the background. I want to like interrupt somewhere, like at the line number 14. So once the cursor reach to line number 14, then wait for me so that all the control will get transferred to your new debugger. Now for that, what you need to do, if you want to interrupt the execution, what you need to do? You need to set the breakpoint. So that interruption will be done by using the breakpoint. Now how to set the breakpoint? Now here we can see, sorry. So can you see in this line, there is a syntax checks button, there is a activate button, there is a execute. In the same line, can you see that stop symbol, red color? It will be used to set the breakpoint. It is for the session breakpoint, and next to that you do have the external breakpoint. So these are the types of breakpoints: session breakpoint, external breakpoint. Within the same system, if you want to debug and if you're executing through within the same system with the current session, then it's a part of session breakpoint. And external breakpoint from external system, if you want to accessing the SAP system and during access, if you want to debug, then you need to place the external system, external breakpoint. Now you can ask me like, what is the life cycle? Like suppose if I set the breakpoint, how long it will be enabled? See, breakpoint will be set by manually and you're going to delete it manually. Can you see that info? Set slash delete. You need to set yourself, you need to delete yourself. Until unless your session is active. It means my session is open, it is active. Till then the breakpoint is activated. Until unless you're going to delete it manually. And the other way is what? Once you shut down your sessions, like I'm going to kill all my screens, sessions, I'm going to shut down my system. Then automatically in that case, your session breakpoint will be deleted. Only two ways to delete the session breakpoint. One, you need to delete it manually, you need to kill it. The second way is what? Once you shut down your system, and if you restarted your system, then only your session breakpoint will be deleted. In that situation, again, you need to set it manually. An external breakpoint, it will be activated. Once we set, it will be activated for next 3 hours. And it will always be user specific. It will always be user specific. Session, it will be always be the session specific. Irrespective of any user, it will be always the session specific. And the external, it will be always the user specific. We are going to activate or we are going to set or delete the external breakpoint on user specific, and once we set, it will be activate for the next 3 hours. In that case, it will be deactivated automatically. Again, if you want to run, you need to activate it manually. First, I will debug the work area example which we discussed, and then I can go with this. Okay, so this is the work area example which we discussed. Okay, so I'm using the pretty printer to align my code. It doesn't mean that if you want to debug, your code should be aligned. No, not like that. See, this is a table, declarative statement. This is the data. This is also declarative statement. Select statement is not a declarative. It is a executable or the calling statement. Even write is a calling statement and the end select. Now, when I click on execute, there are 24 lines of codes are there. And if I click on execute, all the 24 lines of code will be get executed in the background. But this time I don't want to execute all the lines of code in the background. Instead, I want to check it manually. Now, from where? From if you want to check yourself manually from line number 1 or somewhere in the middle. From where do you want to start checking? From where do you want to start analyzing? If you are saying that no, I want to start it from the line number 1, you can set the breakpoint at line number 1. From where do you want to start? So setting that breakpoint indicates that is going to be interrupt that line. It's going to interrupt at that line. So it is not possible to start from line number 1 because these are the part of declarative. Till here it's a part of declarative. Okay. So if you want, you can interrupt from line number 14 to line number 24, anywhere in between this. Now suppose I want to interrupt at this line. So you need to set the breakpoint. How to set? Just click on that line anywhere, click on that line and select the stop symbol. Set slash delete breakpoint. If I set, can you see the symbol? In this line, the stop symbol, session breakpoint, and can you see the message at bottom? Session breakpoint was set. Now say that no, I don't want to debug. Then you can delete it also. Or to do, or the one way is what? You need to kill the session. You need to shut down the session. How to do? You can just close this session. By closing also, the session breakpoint will be automatically deactivated or deleted. Another way is what? Select the same line and select the stop symbol. It will be deleted. So this is the way. Select the line, click on stop symbol, breakpoint was set. Select the line, again click on stop symbol, delete it. This is one way. Another way is what? The line, the column where that breakpoint stop symbol is getting enabled, in front of that line, double click on this. Even that way also the breakpoint will be set. See, just double click. Again double click, it will be deleted. One way is what? In this column in front of that line, where do you want to set the breakpoint? Just double click on that, breakpoint will be set. Again double click, remove. Another way is what? Click on select statement, click on stop symbol. Again click on select statement, click on stop symbol, delete it. Wherever it is fine. Now saying that at line number 14 I have set, now at line number 15 I want to set. See, this is not a individual statement. Actually, this is complete one statement. There is no any separated by comma. As I discussed, every statement will be separated by comma, ends with full stop. So there is no any separation. Do we find any separation over there? No. It means it is complete one statement. It means between line number 14 to 18, actually that has been splitted with the 4 lines, but that is one complete statement. And if you want to set another breakpoint, now you can able to set at the line number 20, 21, 22, and the 24. I can set the breakpoint likewise. Just single click or double click, anything is fine. Single click it will set, double click it will delete it. Right? Now again delete it. Likewise, 30 breakpoint can be set. You are going to interrupt the program. You are going to interrupt the program. Now if I click on execute, it will not execute all the lines of code in the background. Instead, from line number 1 to line number 11 will be get executed in the background. Once the cursor, the arrow has reached to line number 14, it will transfer the control to the tool called ABAP Debugger. And by default, it will open the new debugger. Now if I click on execute option, see, message say at the bottom, debugger has been started, and this is a tool called ABAP Debugger. So this is a part of your ABAP debugger. Can you see? And this is a ABAP new debugger. And if you want to switch to the classical debugger, you can just go with the debugger. You can say no. So manually, no, it's not. It's not navigating. Usually it is not. It is possible to switch to the old debugger also, but it is somewhere it's not showing the option. It should be there. No. Okay. So I will show you the classical debugger as well. Means old one. And this is the debugger is a new one. Now there are many options within this tool. There are many options. So this is your main program. And if you don't have any sub program that you can find over here, but here both are main program only. And currently, what is your cursor position? Your cursor is at line number 14. Now you can ask me what is the meaning of cursor? Cursor is something like the arrow. Now current, what is the current state at where exactly you are waiting? Like system, the cursor is waiting for you. Now if you look at the stop symbol, can you see this line? I have just deactivated, means deleted the breakpoint, but still you are in the debugger. Can you see this arrow? Yes, this is what means it is waiting for your command, and it is at the line number 14. And here you can see the event. We do have the concept called event that we'll discuss in the report topic. And currently the event which is executing, that is a part of startup selection. And you know, like we are going to define the different data objects. It may be the variable, it may be the work area. So which we are discussing, that is a part of work area. And we do have the database, sorry, tables, internal tables, I can say. These are the part of data objects. So that is a part of user defined, like we discussed about the variable, user defined variable. It can be name, city, postal, which you want to hold the data. Then we do have the work area concept as well to hold the data in the multiple column with a single row, which we are debugging. Then internal table with the multiple column plus multiple row. That's a part of internal table. Some set of variables already provided by the SAP. the variables, some set of variables already provided by the SAP called system variables. The concept called system variables. So one of the system variable is sy-su-bar-c. And all the system variable, there is a prefix. Now, what is the meaning of system variable? We do have this different session, but I'm just giving you some hint. System variables are nothing but the variables provided by the standard SAP software. And these variables are filled with some values. These variables are filled with some values. So one of the variable called sai-sabasi, sai, we are going to pronounce and we are going to represent by using sy hyphen only. So and we are while calling, we are going to call as sai-sabasi or site tabix. So this is another system variable. Likewise, we do have total 171 system variable. We do have 171 system variables, and by using this system variables, sometimes we need to fulfill the requirement. So here you can ask me what is the use of these two system variables. That will take you to the point. So before that, let me open that work area which we discussed. Okay, so let's revise. We discussed about the work area. So work area is a temporary memory will be created in RAM of application server. The use of this work area, it will pick a single record from the database, transfer it to the presentation. Again, go to the database, pick another record, transfer. So one by, so every time it will go to the database, pick single record, transfer. So here if you look at, so this is the example of work area, the same which we discussed in the last to last session. So here you can see, so the cursor is waiting at the line number 14 and he is waiting for your action. He is waiting for your action. And while working with the debugging, the four important keyword F5, F6, F7, F8. Now at this position, at this situation, if you are going to select F5 or F6, the usage is remain same at this point. Both are will be helpful for you to be execute line by line or the statement by statement. But if you want to see the actual difference between the F5 and the F6, I will show you in another example. So here you can see the line where you are finding the ABAP debugger. Under that you can see the errors. This is for F5 single steps. Next to that you do have the execute F6. Next to that you do have the F7 return to come back from a specific area. F8 to continue. Now suppose you have decided no, I don't want to debug, let the system execute in the background. I can click on F8, it will take you out. See, I'm going to click on F8, again it will take you out. Okay, come back. Now again I'm going to set the breakpoint. Again I want to go to the debugging. So I'll go with SC38. Execute. So debugger has been started. So you can see on the stop symbol you can find the green color arrow. The same thing which I have shown you over here during the work area concept. Right? With this declaration, it will create a memory in the application server. Now the cursor is waiting at the line number 14. That is a part of select statement. Now, if you want to see that work area, the work area which we have created, if you want to see, now can you see this tab? Desktop 1, there is a desktop 2, desktop 3, then standard, then structure, then tables. There are so many things, so many things, so many things. But by default, we always select the desktop 3. Now, usage of this desktop 3 is in one side you can see your code, source code area, and the another side within your program, whatever the data objects you have declared, maybe it's a variable, work area, intern table, that you can see in the right hand side. Can you see this variable 1, variable 2, locals, then globals? There are many things. Okay. Now, as I told that within the variable, you do have the local variable as a global. If you know the variable name, then you can type it that I can show you here. Now, in the graphical representation side, which I have shown you over here, the work area which it has created in a single row, the graphical representation with the same, if you want to see at the screen level, that you can type it over here. Otherwise, you can type it over here, or you can just simply double click on this work area. Double click, it will show you that memory which has been created in the application server. This is a variable that will be considered in the variable only. Like if you do how many, like it can be one also, it can be 10, 15, 100, 200. You can declare n number of memory. So that complete list you can find it over here. The same will be extended to the variable 2 also. Now within the variable you do have two, global and the local. If you want to see the local memory, that you can find under the locals. If you want to see the global memory, that you can see in the globals. Right? Now that is with the desktop 3. Do you know there is a concept called stack? In all the programming there is a availability, but in the SAP also we do have the ABAP stack. Means like your program which is getting executed now currently in which screen you are located. So there is a long journey. Once we start execution, it should come across with many programs. Your like journey, I'm talking about the journey of your execution from where it has started, currently where it is. Right, suppose if you're starting from source to destination, it doesn't mean that you will directly come from source to destination directly. No, you need to come across many way, many stops, many things. So what is your journey and what is your current position? Means maybe exactly on which program you are. Before that maybe you are in some different program. Before that your cursor was, means like the cursor which is traveling in what exactly, what are all the program it has came across. That you can find in the ABAP stack. We do also the concept called the ABAP stack, that you can see in the desktop too. See, this is the stack in the right hand side. Can you see ABAP and the screen stack? Means once you started your execution, through all what are all the program it has came across. So that it did always in the reverse manner. Initially it was in the screen 1000, then it has reached to the PAI model, that is in the second stage, and currently you are in the third, that is a part of event startup selection something. So this was a journey that you can check in the desktop too. ABAP stack plus your ABAP screen, that you can check in the desktop too. Desktop 1 is a combination of desktop 2 and 3. It means you can find your stack also, you can find your variables also. That is a part of desktop 1. Likewise, you do have the different tabs over here. The standard is there, structure is there. We will get to know, we'll come to know one by one, right? So here, now in your program, how many breakpoint you set and the how many watch point you can set, you have set totally, that you can find under the breakpoint plus watch point. How many, like what is the total number of breakpoint and the watch point you have set in your program, that you can find under the breakpoint slash watch point. So this is a tab for the breakpoint, this is a tab for the watch point. So currently there is no any active breakpoint or the watch point in your program. So that was earlier one there, but you have deactivated. Now again it was set, maybe you can find the entry. Can you see, this is a breakpoint. So that has set in the row, the program screen, and this is somewhere you have set the breakpoint. Okay. Now I will come back to the desktop 3, and this is a variable. If I double click on this, these are the fields: customer ID, name, and the city. Now what we are doing, now it is fetching the single record from the database into your work area. Now what you need to do, you just click on F6. We are executing this one single line, F6. Now whatever the line has been executed, the line which has executed, either it has successfully executed or there is some issue with that line. How we will get to know? With this system variable provided by the SAP. If sapabap returns a value as a 0, earlier was also so 0, earlier value was for the earlier statement. Now current value is for the just before the statement which you have executed. You have executed the select statement, and does that select statement successfully executed or it is having some issue? If it is 0, then it is successfully executed. The things which you are expecting, that has returned. Now suppose there is some issue, if you couldn't found the data, then it might be something apart from 0. Especially it will be 4. If you are searching for something and if you didn't find the result, then it will be the 4. Okay, that is a part of sapabap 4. Now currently you found the value as a 0. It means the statement which you have executed, that is successfully executed, 0. Likewise, SAP has provided the multiple system variables. Now if you look at this work area, you have received the first record, 1000 Sai and the Pune. Now what we are doing, we are printing this single column from the work area to screen presentation server. Now if you want, you can type it also from this work area. The first field as a customer underscore ID. You can just type and click on enter. You can find the value. Otherwise, you can just simply double click on that variable. I'm going to double click on name. This is the value. I'm going to double click on city, this is a value. Now again, if you click on F6, the first column has been printed in the output list. Now he's waiting for your command to print the second. Second value is also printed in the output list at the 25th position. Even third value also printed in the 50th position. Now it has reached to end select. It means again it is returning back to the select. Now you can see it will come back to the select again. See, that's the reason I told you that it is work as a round and round. Again, it will go to the database, pick the next entry. Now it has picked just picked the 1000. Now it's going to pick the second record 1001. All right. Now it's going to pick the second entry. You can see now again it has reached to the select statement. I'm going to click on F6. See, now it has picked the second record 1001, name and the city. Now again going to print one by one statement F6. Now here you can click on F5, F6. It will return the same thing. Now there is no any difference between at this stage. There is no any difference between F5 and the F6. Now again it will go to the select, means again it will go to the database. It means each time when you are working with the work area, each time it will go to the database, pick the single record and transfer it to the presentation. Third record. Again it will go to the database. Fourth time. And parallelly you can check the sapabap value and you can check the current line position. F6. So on. Again. Likewise. Now there is no any further record. It is just coming out from the end select. So this is something different area. Just click on F8, come out. Now similarly, I want to show you the difference between the occur zero. Usually we don't use in real time. Right? The occur zero is something like it will create a two different memory, header line plus body. It will create a two different memory, one with the header line plus body with the same name. Now here we have discussed with one of the example, it underscore cust occur 0. So whenever c occurs 0, it will create a header line plus body with the same name. Now I'm going to place the breakpoint at line number 14. Just click on select and select the stop symbol. Breakpoint has been set. Click on execute option. See, the debugger has been started. The control has been transferred transferred to the tool called ABAP Debugger. Now the cursor is waiting for your command and he's at the line number 14. So switch to desktop 3 because you do have the proper like variable. If you want to check the stack, go to the desktop 2. That is fine. Now you are going to click on F6. Before that, I want to see the header line plus the body. Either you can type it over here, it underscore cust, otherwise simply double click on this. Can you see the two different memory? With the same name, you are finding the two rows. One at the first line, it underscore cust. Now, if you want to make a difference, like you can ask me, among these two, which one is the header line and which one is the body? If it is ending with the square bracket, that is body, multiple row. However, it is not, first row is not ending with the square bracket, but there is a hat symbol. That stands, it's a header line. It is something like a work area, but it has automatically created by the system. That is the reason we do have the separate name. But concept is same. Work area, header line, the property is remain same. Both are used to hold a single record during the runtime. Only the difference is that header line has been created by the system automatically. That's the reason we name it separately. Otherwise, the property remains same. Body, of course, multiple row. So if you want to differentiate header line and the body, if it is a hat symbol, header line. If it is ends with the square bracket, body. If I double click on the first row, same. It is looking same like a work area, just with debug just before. Same like a work area, single value. And if I go with the body, second one, you need to double click and it will navigate. See, it is having the rows and column. Okay. Now this time we are extracting the data from database, but not to the header line. Instead, we are picking the data to the body. How we are going to differentiate? Using the keyword called table. It will bring the data to the body. F6, see. In one go, it has extracted all the data. If you go with the header line, you don't have the data because you have extracted the data into body. See, in one go, it has extracted all the data from the database into your internal table. So this is the difference between the work area and the internal table. Work area, every time it will go to the database, each time it will pick single entry because that is his capacity. Each time it can able to hold only single row. but that is a drawback. Like if it is going to the database every time, it might load on the database. It can cause an issue. Like it will delay your response time. So that is not a solution. So alternative to the work area, we go with the internal table. But if you're working with the internal table, then don't think that we don't require the work area. No, again, we require the work area. Why? So while fetching the data from the database, in one go, you pick all the data from database to application server. But it is not possible directly to print the data from internal table to screen. Then again, you need the work area header line to bring the data from application to presentation. So if you refer my arrow, which I have shown you, it will make it clear. Now, if I go here, now in one go, he pick all the data from database to your internal table body. So directly, as we discussed, directly from internal table body, it is not possible to bring the data to the screen or the presentation. So you need to go through work area or the header line is only the way to bring the data from application to presentation. Now the question is how to bring the data from body to header line or the work area. So SAP has provided two options. Either you need to go with the loop and loop or you need to go with the read table. So, and parallel, as I told you that, you can check the Saisabasi value and I will show you now what is the use of site tags. Okay, Saisabasi means it will show you like what was the previous statement has executed. Either it has executed successfully or there is an error. That we will get to know by using the Saisabasi. If it is 0, then successful. If it is apart from 0, then there is some issue. Not syntactically, but execution wise. Now you are moving the data from body to header line. So first one is body, second one is the header line. And it will always work with FIFO, first in, first out. What is the first record? 1000, followed by 1000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will go in this way. Now see, I'm going to click on F6. Now what is the value of site tabix? It is 0. Now if I click on F6, it is 1. It means the loop and loop, it will move on. It will rotate until unless you are going to fulfill all the record. So how many records are there in internal table? 5. Then how many times it will run? 5 times. And if you want to know the current iteration, what is the current time? What is the iteration value? So it is running for the first time. That's the reason the site tabix is 1. So this site tabix only for loop and loop. You can check the current iteration. Is it running for the first time, or second time, or third time? That we will get to know by using the site tabix. And this is only dedicatedly for loop and loop only. Okay. Now the data from body, it comes to header line. See, the use of loop and loop is same. It will bring the data from body to header line. And you can check the first record comes to header line. You can just click on F5 or F6, both remain same. End loop. See, this time it is not going to the select. No need to go back to the database again because you have extracted all the respective data to your internal table. Now just move the data from internal table body to header line or work area and from there to screen. Okay, so here you can see. Now F6 loop is iteration for the running for the second time. What is the site tabix value? 2. And you can check the second record comes to your header line 1001. Earlier was 1000, this is 1001. F6 city. Again it will go to the loop running for the third time. You can check in the header line 1002 Aditi Mumbai. Again fourth time. You can see site tabix value 4. So it will run the number of times, the number of rows you do have the internal table. If you do have 10 row in your internal table, 10 times will work like loop will execute. Now I can say I don't have any data in the internal table, then it will not go inside the loop. That is clear. It will go inside the loop only when if you do have the records in the internal table. Again, it will go for the fifth time. So this is your 5. Now see, can you see this U-turn? Because he didn't found any record for the sixth time. He's coming out. His job is done. See. So as we discussed, in real time, we will work on internal table, but not with the occur 0. Then alternative to this is structure. So we are going to declare the structure, and based on structure, we are going to create the internal table. See, we define the structure. The structure is just a template, but the purpose of to creating the structure, based on structure, we are going to define the table type, work area, internal table. right? So first I will show you with the only structure. That table type I will show in the next. Okay, so I'm going to set the breakpoint over here. Again execute. So here we can see. This time I have not created any internal table with the occur zero concept. No. First I have created the structure separately. Then based on structure with the help of keyword type table of, I have created with the multiple rows and the multiple column as we discussed during the table type case. See, okay. Data IT CST type table of, with this it's going to create this memory to hold the multiple rows and the multiple column. So structure is just template. It is not a memory. Even though if you double click on this, it will not get anything. Can you see? Invalid. It's not a variable. Structure is not a variable. It's not a data object. So it will not allocate the memory for you to hold the data. It is just a template. Now, based on this template, we are creating a single row. And based on this template, we are going to create the multiple row by using the type table of. Now, if I double click on this work area, see, if I double click on this work area CST, you do find the single value, but are you finding the hat symbol somewhere here? No, it means it's not a header line, it's a proper work area. If you're finding the hat symbol, then it's a header line. You're not finding the hat symbol, it's not a header line, it's a work area. Now, if I double click on ITCUST, are you finding any square bracket ending with square bracket? No, it is only during the header line concept, occur zero. But here, not any square bracket. If I double click on ITCUST, see, it means we have created the internal table but not with the occur zero. That is the old concept. That is outdated. We should not use that occur zero. Instead, we have created internal table separately with the help of type table of and by referring to the structure. And there is a drawback, unnecessary to reserve the memory. So here, no. Only when if you receive the data, it will allocate the memory, otherwise no. Dynamic memory, I can say. Now see, again we are using the table. F6, it has received the file record. And this time we have created the work area separately. So we are moving the data from internal table to work area and from work area to screen, the first row. The first record comes to your work area and from work area, it will go to the screen. F6. Either you can select the F6 from here or you can go with the keyboard. Both is fine. Now, end loop. Again, it will go to the loop. Second record. End loop. Third. End loop. Fourth. Now, current. What is the current iteration? Now, what is the number of time it is going on? So you can get with that site tabs. Likewise, we do have 171 system variable. And if you want to look at this way, SAP has provided a structure called SYST. You can check in the S11 also. You can check it here also. There are total 171 system variable. Index, page number, tabix, tfill, so on. So in that we were using site tabix. So we are using sabasi also, and there is site tabix also. These are the field from that structure, and it will fill the value during the runtime only. Okay. Actually, this is a structure. If you go to the S11, you cannot find the data within that. It will return only during the runtime. Okay. So F6. Again, this is running for the fifth time. You do have only 5 record. Again, it will go to the loop. He will check for the next row, but he didn't find any next row. So he's coming out. And again, we discussed about the table type. See, if you want to create the internal table based on the structure, type table of. But in certain situation, type table of will not be supported. Then we are going to create the table type based on the structure. And based on the table type, we are going to create the internal table. Can you see? TYCUST is a structure. By using type keyword, it will create a single row. TT underscore CUST, it is a table type. Can you see? And it has created based on the structure. So table type always created based on the structure. So based on the column, it will create a multiple row. That is a part of table type. But it is never allocate the memory. If you want to allocate, then you can need to go with the data keyword. So we are creating the internal table based on the table type. So table type is having itself a multiple row and the multiple column. So we are allocating the same memory to the ITCUST. Now execute. Same. Now there is no any changes. So this is your work area, single row. Customer ID name city. This is your internal table. Same again. No change. Customer ID name city. Only the difference is that certain situation type table of will not be supported. So we are going to create the table type, and based on the table type, we are going to create the internal table. Now again, the usage is same. It will bring the data from database to the internal table in one go. And by using loop, we are going to print the data from work area to screen. Okay, second time, third time, then fourth time, then fifth time. We don't have any sixth entry, so it's coming out. That's it. So this is what with simple program, work area, internal table, and the variable. Now I want to take you the actual difference between the F5 and the F6. So this is my one of the program which I have created during the practice session. And see, I have not written this entire program in one part. Instead, I have divided the program into blocks. As I told you that in the structural or the procedural language. So C programming is a structural, the procedural. Likewise, ABAP is also one of the example for the structural and the procedural. So we should not write the entire source code in one part. So we are going to block it, divide it. So that we are going to divide in the SAP by using the modularization technique. So that modularization technique contains 5 types: subroutine, function model, include, field symbol, and the macro. So wherever you can find the perform, that is my subroutines. And the function model will be called by using the call function that you can find my different session. Now, if I double click on this perform init plan data, you can find the some source code within that. So this is formed. Actually, this is a calling part. This is a definition part, perform. Behind that, you do have the actual code. Now there is a perform, behind that you do have the form and form. This is a perform, behind that you do have the form and form. And the actual code is between that form and form. Similarly, perform get data. Now within that you do have the select statement. Okay. Now it will start executing from the line 1, but I want to interrupt the program at line number 13, so you can set the breakpoint. And I will show you the difference between the F5 and the F6. Click on execute. I'm providing some input, material this to this, execute. So currently you are at line number 13. Actually, the perform you are looking, it is some definition. It is some like a billboard. Behind that, you do have the actual property of the value. Same way, behind this get data, there is a form and form, and actual code is between that form and form. Now, my question is, do you want to open the door and you want to get in? If yes, then click on F5. Now you're saying that no, let it be, let execute it in the back. It doesn't, if you're not getting in, it doesn't mean that it will not get executed. No. If you're, even though it is not really matters if you are getting in or not. However, it will get executed, irrespective of either you are going in or not. But if you get in, you can see how it will get executed. If you're not going in, or if you don't want to go in, just click on F6, that respective form and form will be get executed in the background. Not only during the perform case, in any, the block of code you are going to write in any format, if you want to get in F5, you're saying that no, I don't want to get in, then F6. So here you see, I want to get inside. F6 will not take you in, only F5. See, I'm going to click on F5, it will taking in. See, if you are resident, you just in into the form and form. Again, here you can click on F5, F6, it doesn't make any sense. It will do the line by line, line by line. See, line by line. F6, 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 line by line, F6. Once it is done, it will come back again to the next line, perform. So my question is, do you want to get in? If yes, click on F5. It will take you in. And suddenly you change your mind. No, I want to go out. Then F7, return. If you want to come back from the specific area, then F7. It doesn't mean that the code which you can see below that, under that, like you are at the line number 112. If I'm going back, it doesn't mean that after the 112, whatever the source code you're finding, it will not get executed. No. However, that will get executed. Execution will not stop. It will keep on going. Only the matter is, do you want to have a look on that or not? That only the thing. Otherwise, if you are going back, it doesn't mean that the remaining code is not getting executed. No, it will get executed in the background. F7, coming back. Again, if you want to go in, F5. Come back, or F6, however, it will come back. Next, it's going to display. If you want to go in, FI. No, there are further many code, but I don't want to look at this. Let me take it to the output list. I can click on FI. It will completely take you out. This is how. So this is during the debugging, this is the difference between the FIU, F6, F7, F8. Now I will show you the external breakpoint. Now within the session breakpoint will be set in the two different way. So first I will cover this the session breakpoint. The session breakpoint will be set in a two different way. One is what? Suppose this is my program. Using the breakpoint also you can set it. Otherwise, the second way is what? You can set by using this way also. Break hyphen point. By using the command also you can set the breakpoint. Using the command also you can set the breakpoint. But there is some issue. This is a static breakpoint. It means, like as I said that, what is the time limit of session breakpoint? Like if your current session is open, then it will be remains active until unless you're going to delete it manually. Otherwise what? Once you closed or once you kill the session, automatically that session breakpoint will be deleted. But if you create the session breakpoint in this way, this we can call as a static breakpoint. It means using hard code you are going to set the breakpoint. It will be remains activated. It will be remains activated. But here another problem is what? The session breakpoint it will be always session specific, nothing but the current screen specific and the current user specific. The user who has activated it will be enabled only for that user and only for that session. But this breakpoint is for all the screens, all the session and for all the user. Even though sometimes end user is running the program, even for him also it will take to the debugger. Now he don't know the debugger. It will be a mess. So don't do this. Even though if you want to set the static breakpoint, instead of setting in this way, there is another approach is what? Break space username. So the username which you are using to log in into the session, you can use that. So here I'm using the username as SAP user 74. So this is my username, somewhat. Now, what is the difference between these two? Both are static session breakpoint. But the difference is that if you set the breakpoint with this keyword, it will take you to the debugger for all the user in all the session. And with the second one, it will take you to the debugger only for that user who has logged in. Means the current username should be that 93 users. Only for that user, it will take you to the session debugger. For others, it will not take. Now you can ask me then why SAP has provided. See, in certain situation, this session breakpoint will not work. Then we need to go with the static. So that is it. So there are the different way, but don't do this mess. Now I will come to the external breakpoint. Now, now within the session, if you want to debug, then you can activate the session breakpoint and you can debug. Now, as I'm telling that my SAP screen or my SAP system is accessing through external systems, maybe the third party. And while they accessing my system, and I have developed some source code, and that access should take me into the debugging. Then you need to go with the external breakpoint. And before that, you need to activate the breakpoint, external breakpoint. So external breakpoint will be set something like this. By enabling the session breakpoint, can you see the message at bottom? There was some message at the bottom. Can you see? Valid for 2 or maximum 3. That hours again is going to be set by the basis consultant. In real time, it can be 3 also. And it is always be the user specific. Session, always the session specific and the user specific. And this external, it is not a session specific, but it is user specific. It may be any session, but it is user specific and there is some validity. It doesn't mean that if you set, you need to delete it. No. However, after 2 hours, it will automatically deactivate it. Right? And for that, you need to add the username also. So go to the utilities, under settings, you do have the debugging. In the debugging, you need to specify the username. Okay. And sometimes what will happen, you do, as I told that in real time, you do have multiple presentation server, you do have multiple application server, but their database server is only one. But if you do have like one presentation, one application and one database, there is no issue. Sometimes you do have the multiple application server and exactly which application server you're using for execution. In that situation, you need to use as a only current application server. And second thing is what, as I told that you do have two debuggers type. classical, nothing but the old, and the new debugger. The breakpoint which you have set, and if you want to work with only the new or classical, that you need to select the radio button, ABAP Debugger. And if you want to activate it dynamically, means some later point of time or immediately, then you need to check the select point, activate the immediately. Right? So this is the difference between the session breakpoint, external. Only difference is session within the system, external through external system. And that is always user specific, and there is some time limit. Now I will come to the watch point. So watch point, like first thing is what, if you want to work on the watch point, make sure that you are in debugging. You should be in debugging. It means you already navigate it into the debug. Means without a breakpoint, it is not possible to work on the watch point. So even though if you want to work with the watch point, first you need to set the breakpoint. You need to switch to the debugger, and within the debugger, you can work on the watch point. Now, what is the meaning of watch point? So watch point is a conditional breakpoint, and it will be activated only during the debugging in the ABAP debugger session. It will be activated only during the debugging for the active session. Now you can ask me then what is the use of watch point? So using the watch point, suppose I want to interrupt some change of variable values. Suppose you do have 10 record with you, means during the flow, you might be come across with a 10 record. Now you are saying that let system take me into directly FIO, or he should alert me only that specific value comes to picture. It means the values which is flowing during the variable, like the data which is coming across the variable, it can be any values. And you want to interrupt the program at a specific value. So watch what watchpoint will do. The content of value has changed, then only it will get trigger. If you want to set any value specific debugging, for example, let me take you to the screen level. Now, this is an internal table. Execute. So if you want to work with the watch point, first you need to set the breakpoint. System need to take you into the debugging. Now in the debugging. Now I'm going to click on F6. Now currently you are in the internal table. Okay, so in the internal table, how many records are there? Five. Five rows we do have. Now when you start doing the looping, you need to go one by one. Suppose in your internal table, you do have 1000 entry. Maybe more than 5. It may be 10, 20, 100, 500, 600, anything. But I want to look on specific value. So my focus is on specific value, specific data on that internal table. Maybe it's 1000 or 1002. Maybe any column you can say, any value you can say. So my focus is on specific value. Now, if I want to reach to that specific value, then you need to do looping one by one until unless you come across with that specific value. Suppose you do have the data between 1000 to 2000 and your focus is on 1020th record, or you're suppose you're having the focus on 1802. This is my focus. Like you do have entry from 1000 to 2000. And your focus is on this entry 1802. And if you want to reach to that point, if you want to reach to this point, then what you need to do? You need to do the looping. You need to keep on pressing the F6 one by one by one. So how many times you need to do? 108, like 1801 time you need to keep on pressing the F6. It's very lengthy job. Is any shortcut? Can I directly jump to the 1802 record? Yes, it's possible. That is a part of watchpoint. You can set the variable values and you can say that once you reach to this value, alert me. Okay, how we are going to do it? I will show you here. See, there is no any breakpoint. And what is the current value of this work area underscore CUST hyphen customer ID? No. Now I want to set the breakpoint. Now in this internal table, how many rows are there? Like you do have 1000, 1001, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now suppose I want to I have to do with this 1002 record. My focus is on this particular row or particular value 1002. I'm asking system, I don't have the patience, I don't have that much time to look it for one by one. My focus is on 1002. Directly take me to the 1002. Then you're going to set the watch point. Value specific, like conditional breakpoint, we can say. Go to the watch point. You can say that in this program, on which value you're focusing on. Set the variable for which variable you are looking for and what is the value equals to. So for this variable and the value is equals to in the inverted column 1002. Actually, I'm asking the cursor directly take me to this value 1002 and that value is coming in the loop, right? Enter, save. Once we set the breakpoint or the watch point that you can see under the break/watch point, the breakpoint is already one active. In the watch point that is also active for this variable and there is a value. Can you see? This is a value. Now see, if now you can click on F8. If you're working with the watch point, F6 and the F5 will not work for you, will not help you. Click on F8. I'm just going to click on F8. Now directly you can see, basically, if you are doing the looping, it will take one by one. First 1000, 1001, 1002, so on. But if I click on F8, directly you can see the 1002. See? Directly system has reached. Can you see the message at bottom? Watch point reached. You're saying that I want to directly jump to that value or alert me once you reach over there. So that is a part of conditional. Likewise, you can set the condition for any value. They can ask me how many breakpoint will be set in a program. As I told you that if it is a classical, then 30 breakpoint. But if you're working with a new debugger, there is no restriction. You can set more than 30 also. But if you're asking me for the watch point, but there is a restriction like 10. You can set the 10 watch point in one program. But if you're working with the new debugger, again, there is no restriction. You can set many. You can somewhere you can find that as a 5, somewhere you can find it as a 10. But it's a very rare chance to work on those multiple. But yes, you can set more if you're working with the new debugger. If it is a classical, then maximum 10 we can set. Likewise, again F6. Now you're saying that after 1002 you do have 1003 and 1004. You're saying that please alert me or take me to directly 1004. Again click on watch point, select the variable, exactly which variable you're looking for and the value. I'm looking for 1004. If you're working with the watch point, F6, F5 will not work. Click on F8. Again it will take you to the 1000. See? After 1002, we do have the 1003. It has not came across with the 1003, but you do have the condition on the 1004. So this is what your debugging, your breakpoint, your within the breakpoint you do have the session and the external. Within the session we do have the dynamic and the static breakpoint, and this is the watch point. Thank you for the session. Actually, it's a very big topic again. If you want to know more about this, we do have the separate session for this. But the time being, it's more than enough for the beginners as well as the functional people. Thank you for the day and thank you for the session.